All right, welcome in everyone to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking into, well, something we all probably want a little more of, peace. Like, seriously, who couldn't use a little more peace in their life, right? And we've been digging through a ton of material for this one, books, articles, even some podcasts, actually. It's all about finding that inner calm, but also how we deal with stress, relationships, all that stuff that can really get to you.
Yeah, I mean, life can be pretty chaotic. So, yeah, finding ways to navigate that and experience more peace, I think that resonates with a lot of people.
And that's exactly what we're aiming for with this deep dive. We want to give you some, well, some actual strategies, things you can start doing today without having to completely, you know, upend your life or anything.
Right. It's not about making some huge, drastic changes, more like little tweaks and shifts that can make a big difference over time.
Exactly. So let's dive in, I guess. And I think maybe a good place to start is like internally, right? A lot of the stuff we looked at talked about like cultivating inner peace
Yeah.
and mindfulness and meditation. Those seem to be pretty big themes.
Yeah, for sure. And what's really interesting is it's not just some woo-woo concept anymore. Like, there's actual science backing it up.
Oh, we're really?
Yeah, like there's studies that show how even just a few minutes of mindfulness or meditation can actually like lower your cortisol level.
Cortisol.
Yeah, that's like the main stress hormone in your body. So it's not just like a feeling, there's a real biological change happening.
That's pretty wild. So it's like even if you can't, sit there for an hour and totally clear your mind, just a few minutes can actually make a difference.
Exactly. It's about interrupting that stress cycle however you can.
Makes sense. And a lot of these sources also talk about self-acceptance, which I think can be really hard for people. Like letting go of that need to be perfect, always comparing ourselves to others.
Especially now, right? With social media and everything, you're constantly bombarded with these like idealized versions of people's lives. It's easy to fall into that comparison trap.
Yeah, totally. And it seems like self-acceptance is kind of the antidote to that, like recognizing your own worth, even with your, imperfections and all.
Exactly. And kind of tied to that is this idea of shifting towards positive thinking, which again can sound kind of cheesy, but it's really about like training your brain to focus on solutions rather than just dwelling on the problems. That can really help with reducing anxiety.
Okay, so that's the inner stuff.
Yeah.
But we also have to deal with like external stressors, right?
Yeah.
All the things that life throws at us. And I noticed a lot of the sources talked about setting boundaries and learning to say no,
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Like, think of your energy as a finite resource. If you're constantly saying yes to everything, you're going to burn out, which obviously doesn't help with feeling peaceful.
right? It's about protecting your time and energy.
Exactly. And good time management plays a role there, too. It's not just about getting more done, but about making space for rest, for reflection, for things that actually nourish your well being.
So it's like scheduling in time for peace almost.
Kinda, yeah. And then there's the whole connection between physical health and mental peace. We all know we need exercise, good food, enough sleep, but those things aren't just good for your body, they directly impact your mental state too.
Yeah, it's all connected, right?
Totally. It's like a feedback loop. When your body's stressed out, your mind's going to be stressed out too. So taking care of your physical needs is a major step towards inner peace.
Now let's talk relationships. I mean, those can be a huge source of stress, but also, incredible joy. And it seems like open and honest communication is like the foundation for healthy relationships.
Yeah, communication is key. So many conflicts and misunderstandings come from like unspoken expectations or just assuming we know what the other person is thinking.
Right. And being able to actually talk things through openly and honestly, that can prevent a lot of unnecessary drama.
Totally. And then there's empathy. Like really trying to see things from the other person's perspective, that can build so much stronger connections and just reduce friction in general.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's forgiveness, which I think can be really hard for some people.
Hmm.
But holding on to grudges, that can be so toxic.
Oh, yeah. It eats away at you. It's like you're the one carrying that weight around. Forgiveness, both for yourself and others, is a huge part of finding peace.
Okay, so we've talked about inner peace, dealing with stress, relationships. But something else that came up a lot was the importance of like actively avoiding negativity.
Yes, Being mindful of your environment, basically. Just like you might declutter your physical space, you can declutter your mental space too.
So that means like toxic relationships, doom scrolling on the news, all that stuff.
Yeah, being selective about what you expose yourself to and focusing on what you can control. There's so much in life that we can't control, and that can feel really overwhelming. But focusing on what you can do, that can give you back a sense of agency, and that can be really empowering.
Okay, I like that. And kind of related to that is this idea of embracing simplicity, which came up in a lot of the sources too.
Yeah, it's like a less cluttered physical space often leads to a less cluttered mind. And when you start simplifying your life, you start to realize what truly matters to you.
So it's not about like deprivation, it's about prioritizing.
Exactly. And aligning your life with your values rather than just chasing after, stuff, that can lead to a much deeper sense of contentment.
Okay, last but not least, we got to talk about gratitude. This seems to be like a recurring theme in pretty much everything we looked at.
It's powerful stuff. Like, even if you just take a few minutes each day to appreciate what you have, it can really shift your perspective. It's like training your brain to focus on the good, which in turn makes you feel more peaceful and content.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think it's important to remember like peace isn't this like destination you arrive at. It's more of an ongoing process, a result of all these habits and practices we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's about cultivating those conditions for calm and stability, even amidst the chaos of life.
Well said. So, to wrap things up, I think the big takeaway here is that creating a more peaceful life isn't just one thing, it's a whole bunch of things. It's the inner work, it's managing the external stuff, it's how we relate to others.
Exactly. And with that in mind, maybe a good question to leave you with is like, which of these areas, inner peace, stress management, relationships, negativity, simplicity, gratitude, which one feels the most relevant to you right now? And what's one small step, even just one tiny thing you could do today to invite a little more peace into your life?
I like that. Something to think about. All right, folks, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, peace out.